This video is sponsored by Wizards of the Coast. The two toughest questions in MTG Commander are, who is going to be my commander and what card should I put in the 99? In Commander, there are currently around 1900 legendary creatures, planeswalkers or vehicles that can be your commander, and around 26,000 cards that are legal to play in your commander deck. Now if you ask me, that's quite a lot of choice and it seems just a little bit overwhelming. So in today's video, I'm going to help you narrow down this choice by going over how to find your next favourite commander, what sort of themes you can build that might inspire picking a certain commander, and provide you with a little insight into the do's and don'ts for when you sit down at your next commander game at your local game shop. Okay, so for those new to Commander, let's do a super quick recap on what Commander is. Commander is a 100 card singleton format where you build a deck around a single legendary creature who is your commander. You can only use cards that are colorless or are the colors of your commander's color identity. Your commander lives in the command zone, and you can cast your commander from the command zone for its cost at any time you could normally cast them. If you want to know more about how to play Commander, check out this video linked here. Now the first steps in working out what commander you should look to build is working out what sort of decks you like playing. Did you know, if you take all of the different constructed decks over the course of Magic's history, you can boil them down to 4 different core strategies: Aggro, Control, Combo, and Midrange. Let's go over them. Aggro decks, short for aggressive decks, look to finish out the game as quickly as possible. If you've played MTG Arena at any point since its launch, you've no doubt run into a mono-red aggressive deck on the ladder. If you don't look to get rid of their creatures and stabilize, the game will be over quickly. The quintessential aggro commander deck would have to be Muxus, Goblin Grandee, or Krenko, Mob Boss. The game plan is simple. Play goblins and turn them sideways and deal a bunch of damage. If you're not a fan of mono-red, mono-green elves do the exact same thing, except they look a little bit more sophisticated while doing it. Check out Marwyn the Nurturer or Azuri Renegade Leader to lead the charge there. Now if aggro decks want to win as quickly as possible, control decks are the polar opposite. They want to slow everything down, and they are the masters of card advantage. What control decks lack in terms of creatures are more than made up by the number of counterspells and removal spells they have. Most control decks are either mono blue or blue mixed with 1 or 2 other colours, but it's certainly possible to play control in other colours too. Azami Lady of Scrolls is one of my favourite mono blue control decks. It's effectively wizard typal, play wizards, turn them sideways to draw cards, and win the game. Sitting nicely between aggro decks and control decks are the aptly named midrange decks. Midrange decks look to control the early game with efficient spells and then close out the game with some high value creatures. Practically most commander decks and all precon decks fit this style. Xenagos, God of Revels, and Merrin of Clan Neltoth both come to mind for mid-range commanders. If you're looking for something a little bit newer to try, Aragon the Uniter definitely fits this style. And for our final core deck type, we have the combo decks. As the name implies, combo decks are looking to assemble a combo and win the game on the spot. Combo commander decks are a polarizing topic in this space. You either love playing them or can't stand going up against them. For example, Thassa's Oracle and Tainted Pack is the most popular win the game right on the spot combo. It only requires 2 cards and costs a total of 4 mana. And to top it off, you're playing the colours that have the best card draw, counter spells and tutors in the game. Personally, I don't mind combos existing in decks. I just don't like the decks whose sole existence is to find that one particular combo and just win the game. Now of course, these are just the 4 core deck archetypes. The key to winning Commander games is by having a focused deck. Another way to think about building a deck is picking a certain theme you like the look of. I'm going to quickly cover 3 of my favourite deck themes and some commanders you can use in them. First up, there's Pillow Fort. Pillow Fort decks are designed to either make it very difficult or completely stop your opponents from attacking or dealing damage to you. It is an extremely defensive deck. My personal version, which you can find the full list for on moxfield.com, is helmed by Hannah Ship's Navigator, a blue and white deck. The deck runs lots of enchantments such as Ghostly Prison, Propaganda, and Sphere of Safety, as well as creatures with static abilities which can prevent opponents from attacking. Blazing Archon, Windborn Muse, and even Peacekeeper are all excellent. Next up, we have Group Slug. So one of the most popular Fringe decks people play are something called Group Hug decks. These decks are designed to dish out card draw and mana ramp to everyone. As the name implies, Group Hug, share the love. Group Slug decks, on the other hand, punishes anyone for doing anything, including yourself. My personal favourite is Nakusa the Mind Razor, who specifically punishes players for drawing cards. You also have Yorlok of the Scorched Thrash, who punishes players for having excess mana. These decks love running cards like Mana Barbs, Spiteful Visions, or Spell Shock. And to speed the game up even further, cards like Descent into Avernus and Havoc Festival are a must include. With the launch of the new Lord of the Rings set, there are a bunch of new commanders I'm excited to build decks for. One in particular is a spell-slinging deck with Lord of the Nazgul as the commander. You can find the Lord of the Nazgul in the Host of Mordor Precon, or, if you're lucky enough, in a set or collector booster. Now, the game plan here is simple. Cast Lord of the Nazgul and try and copy them with Spark Double or Sakashima the Imposter, and then cast a whole bunch of cheap blue and black spells to make a bunch of wraiths and attack everyone on the table for lethal. If you want to see a full deck tech on Lord of the Nazgul, let me know in the comments down below. With the upcoming release of Commander Masters dropping on the 4th of August, there are going to be a whole bunch of new players joining the game. So I think it's worth mentioning some things to keep in mind when sitting down for a game of Commander with some new players at your local game store. First up, always keep in mind the power level of your deck. If you sit down with your finely tuned Urza Lord High Artificer deck and your opponents have just opened up a precon, well, that's like taking a Formula 1 car to the go-kart track. You're definitely going to win the race, but neither you nor your opponents are going to have a good time. I personally like to have 2 different decks with me when I play Commander. My fun deck and my competitive deck. All I do is ask what sort of decks people are playing, and 9 times out of 10 they'll let you know how strong they think their deck is. Secondly, Commander is a mostly casual game. You only truly win the game if everyone had fun at the table. If everyone sat there being unable to play because you kept destroying everyone's lands over and over again, or you simply assembled an instant win 2-card combo while not interacting with anybody, sure you won, but did you really? And finally, accept that in some games you're going to be the arch enemy of the table, and you might have 3 players start attacking you or destroying your permanents. Perhaps you've gotten a lot of card advantage in this game, or maybe you're starting to piece together a multi-card combo. Commander is a multiplayer format. At the end of the day, there can only be one winner. If players are attacking you, you're clearly doing something right because everyone thinks you're about to win. So there we have it, a quick rundown of the different types of Commander decks you can play, and some things to keep in mind when playing Commander at your local game store. What's your favourite Commander deck or piece of advice you would give to a new player? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks again to Wizards of the Coast for sponsoring this video, and thanks to you for watching. Have a good night, and I'll see you next time.